Hello, my name is Emily. My Etsy store is yesterday's stash, and today I have my latest journal that I wanted to show you. It's called Teas and Reads. Tea as in drinking tea drinking. And so I have made this to kind of honor, what got me thinking about it was that the Queen is celebrating her 60th year reigning reigning in England, and so they had the Jubilee Festival not too long ago, and they Fortman and Mason, which is a tea company, put out this tea called Jubilee tea. So that's how I got the idea. So I've got this right in here, and then I've got the pocket right here that I've put both of those in. And I put the pocket in a, oh dear, I can't say the name, acetate paper or transparency paper, in order to prevent the picture from being interrupted, other than this little lace. But this is wrapping paper that I found, and this paper actually came, this ribbon or trim actually came from France, and I put a right here, if you look close, you can see that there is upholstery around the spine, and then there's lace, and then there's this trim, and so that's how it looks. And on the back it is all the paper, and the book itself is let's see, the dimensions are 9 inches by 5 3/4. It's got 5 signatures, and each signature is 5 pages, and times 2 makes 10 pages, so that it is actually 100 times, 10 times 5, 20 times 5, exactly 100 pages. So the spine is 4 inches thick. I have put a little tea cup right here, and now I'm going to open the book up and proceed in looking at it. It's a cardboard, but it's rather pliable, but it's still stiff. And I've put this, what we call a Zutter, Z-U-T-T-E-R board in here, that I decorated with the same paper that the pocket is, so that if it should be that you need to have a flat surface with which to write, then you could use this Zutter board for that. The first signature is about an inch. I was a little off in a place or two, but about an inch in between, so that we don't have to worry about the book popping open. So it does close nicely, and definitely you can use it for storing a lot of things in. So this is an interesting find from an Instagram seller. Is some jelly plate experiments that she turned into tags, and I purchased that from her Instagram store. And then what I wanted to do was talk to you a little bit about the book part of this. I worked at Barnes & Noble for years, and I really learned a lot about different authors, so I've always been sort of a bookie. And right here is a book I found about a year ago on the card catalog, and it's a history basically of the Library of Congress, and where when it was formed and where it was found. And what I thought was really interesting was that the very first card catalogs were formed from playing cards by the French, and they would put whatever they wanted. This is in French, so I can't read it, but it talks about the number of chapters in here, and maybe when it was printed, who the author is, the name of it, and so forth and so on. So that was an interesting tidbit. And then it just went through and proceeded to show all of the different ways that the card catalog, or those it started with index cards, lined index cards, and then it went with unlined index cards. So it was just a really interesting book, and I have really enjoyed looking over it and reading it. And then I used several pages out of this book for this book, and this is one of the pages that I used. I did a little collage where I took the card catalog and took the book, and then what their card catalog looked like, and then on the other side, which is the other side of that, and where I did a little bit of collaging. So it was just really interesting to see that and to read that book. My pages are somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 or 80 pound, and I have coffee and tea dye stained them outside, and they dry in the sun, and then I put some glimmer mist or some sort of protectant on it, which you can still write on it, but they're nice thick pages. Here's the actual library checkout envelope from that book I just showed you. And then I was able to play around a little bit with dictionary pages and some tissue paper right here. I use books or digital kits from many Etsy sellers, and this is one that had books on it that I really enjoyed using. And then on pages that have a beautiful color on them, but you really can't, you can't leave every page. You feel like you should put a place for them to write. This has about 45 spaces where you can write. One of the things that I have done this summer is embarked on working or making what we call faux paper, or rice paper, some people call it. So I did some of that with some with some napkins, and also with some tissue paper, which there could be something in there. I also like to use magazine clippings, so I'm constantly going through magazines and finding things that coordinate in color. Here's an interesting quote. It says, "A good book should leave you slightly exhausted at the end. You live several lives while reading it." That's pretty interesting. And then here is writing space, but also has a card here. I also used Mrs. Cog's Crafts cards that she sells on her Etsy store, and this is of people reading, and then there's also one of people reading and also people drinking tea. This is from Tim Holtz. This is a handmade tag that I put a necklace on. This is something I found at my thrift store. It's actually, and I don't know how much you could see of it, but it's very well varnished, so it's very sturdy necklace, and it has quilling inside of it. So I found that and brought it home and said I was going to use it in one of my books. So here it is. This is some of the second and third pages of napkins. When you peel the napkins apart, that's what you get. Here are two more pictures of Mrs. Cog's Crafts with children reading. Here's some basil pleated paper, already pleated, so pre-pleated. More pages for journaling. I went through a phase where I wanted to make a lot of coffee or tea cups, and cut them out, traced them onto scrapbooking paper, so I made some of those. This paper is an example of the faux paper that I made with tissue paper, and then this is a handmade paper that I added for a pocket, and then added a couple of tags. This is a little posy that I found at my thrift store. So whenever I get like bored with what I have at home, I always go to my thrift store, and I'm able to like get my energy, or energy's flowing again. This is an interesting movable circular bookcase that came out of that book on the Library of Congress. I've never seen one, and the date on it is 1810, so it's been around for a while. I don't know if you can see this, but these are actually playing cards. And what I did, and I found this on Lori Girl on the Ridge. She did a video where you take playing cards and you sew them, cut them up or tear them and sew them together and make pockets or tags and then that's what I did here. Is I painted it light purple, and then I put some cheesecloth on it, and then I added a little adornment to it. And it's really fun to do that. I love to come up with different ways to play with paper. I'm a real wuss when it comes to taking paper and doing different things with it and playing around with it. I also have lots of trims and laces that I play around with and have a good time with that as well. Here's another example of one of my teapots, and I put another Jubilee tea in there. This is the first card catalog that was done in the Library of Congress, and it was shows how big and long around it went. You know, they had the little drawers that just were wide enough for an index card or one of their cards to go in. And here's a little note that says reading books reduces stress levels by 68%. So, and just use it in an assortment of trims and laces and zigzag stitching. I love to sew. I sew probably every day. This is an interesting item that I found in my thrift store. Was a girl had made, or a boy or whoever, had made this really neat charm, taking one of those pearl buttons and putting little beads through it, and then complementing it with another little hole in the button and making it almost looks like it could be used as an earring, and if you added the right piece or the right but I just thought those were so cute. So I have several of those in this book. This is a Taylor's of Harrogate tea, and it's strawberry and vanilla green tea. It's another British tea, and this is an example of where you can keep up with the books that you have read and tell your, keep a record. This is why you read it, why you're interested in it, what some of the famous quotes were, who some of the characters were, and so forth. I found that, and it's the company that puts this together is called journalsunlimited.com, and it's on the back of the cards. So that is how you can find that. Then going on to the third, this is the third third signature. This is a greeting card. It says with best wishes, that you can take out and use. This is where I attempted to use the Rita Donnelly, but I ended up not the Rita Donnelly fold, but I ended up not covering it and just leaving the design on it instead of making it a secret place. So we've got, this is the center of the center of the whole book. There's another one of those teacups. This is Little Women that I cut out of of that book, and it has that it was in 1868 is the date of this first book, and it shows an image, which I thought, and this is just beautiful paper from Etsy sellers. And I'll have the list of Etsy sellers that I buy from in my description box below. Here's another teacups. People collect teacups just for the beauty of the china, and pulling out your best china to use for teas. And if you go to England and you drink, you go in and drink tea, you will get there a really nice setup. I have lots of these because we have a lot of libraries that have gone digital in our area. So I have put several of those in here for you to use. These are more of the beautiful tea cups. Another one of those little charms. Books should go where they will be most appreciated and not sit unread, gathering dust on a forgotten shelf. Don't you agree? And then this is where I took fabric, a lavender fabric, and I added a little bit of glitter, and I've added this as a border on the edge of the page. And this is actually a tag that I made, and then this is a napkin that I did the faux paper on. So I have put that in there. This is actually another one of Tim Holtz's tags, cards. So I put that in like here. I went through a period where I really wanted to make a lot of these little glassine envelopes, and they're so much fun to make. Oh my goodness. And so I stuck a little tag in it, and I have paper clipped it here. And then I've also included a little coaster for your tea. This particular one here is a pocket that has a yo-yo on it and a little tag with another pot of tea. This is a greeting card that you can use, take out and use. Then I went through where I found a book that had a bunch of recipes for making tea, different teas. This is a peach yogurt tea shake. Here's a little writing space. And when I was in France, when I got this trim, there was an antique store that I was able to go in, and they had a little bag with about 30 different little pieces of ephemerum that were used. And I found these that matched this paper and Bond Point. I don't know what that stands for, but that's an example of some sort of ticket that was used there. This particular card is a we are moving card and giving your newest address, but it was a box of cards that I found at my thrift store, and I just thought that the outline was so pretty, and even though I'm not moving, I decided I would come home and try to put a little something on this, and I put a book quote by Anna Quinlan. Here's another Tailors of Harrogate, and this is a mandarin and ginger, and this is a set of dinner and dessert china. This is a row of some like a trim that you would put, say, on a fancy dress, like a prom dress or something, and some cards for you to write on. Another teapot with the tags, another recipe. And every tea time magazine that I looked at had this really cute like gift room for tea. It's a tea room and a gift room, so I had to cut it out and put it in here. And also included another Jubilee tea, and then just this came out of a Daphne's Diary magazine. This is another little what is this? Oh, it's a tea bag. And then during the time when we were in France, we went to Monet's garden, and I saw this painting, and I thought it was, and then I was able to find it on Mrs. Cogg's Craft Etsy store, and it's Monet Reading by Renoir, and these were the Impressionists. And Monet did do a lot of reading. He has quite a few books in his house that we went through. And then this came from, yeah, this was a Daphne's Diary, as also a teapot that you can cut out, and it has some tags in it, and another recipe. And I just thought this was so cute. Kay & Company had a card that had a bunch of little pocketbooks on it. And of course, when we go back in the day, when we went to drink to tea or tea parties, we would have to dress in our finest and take our matching pocketbook. And then people would play bridge and drink tea, and so this is a bridge card that I've put in here. just the cutest little stand here for putting in cupcakes, I guess. And I found a box of those at the thrift store for like a dozen of them or so, and I just couldn't resist sticking one in here. And then I also have some envelopes here that will work really good for, and then I put a couple of library cards in there as well. So that's what goes in here. And then at the very end, I have a couple of napkins that say keep calm and drink tea. And it fits inside this pocket. So that is this book. I will also be including some of this, I put some in the book, but this is just a really pretty trim that I thought about using as a tie for the book, but it probably wouldn't last as long as this trim. So this is going to come along with this, as well as a couple of other little extras about tea. So thank you for coming along and watching this with me and participating in my or listening to my conversation about my book. Again, it's called Teas and Reads, and it is going to be for sale in my Etsy store. My Etsy store is called Yesterday's Stash, and that's all one word. And the Y from the yesterday and the S from the stash are capitalized. And so Yesterday's Stash. So thanks again for coming along and watching this with me. It's just such a lot of fun to put these books together. So we'll talk again soon.